So we know how to draw this is basically this is the width, and width will always be parallel to the horizon line. Height will always be perpendicular. It won't go that way. So if there's a line coming there, it won't go that way. It will always be straight up. This is where everyone is having an issue. So that is the height. Width is always a straight line. If you take a scale and draw a straight line and horizontally, that will be your width. Straight line up, that will be your height. And depth obviously will be along the vanishing line, right? Okay, or along the guidelines. Then we have vanishing point, horizon, and then we have multiple lines going on. Okay, let us move on. So we try to draw a house first, right? So let's see how we drew a house. So whenever we decided the width, we saw that it is parallel. So basically it's a horizontal straight line joining two of these lines. It's not going like that. That is wrong. It has to be a straight line. This is very, very simple. Yes, Ritika? Okay. So you have to draw a straight line using a scale which is horizontal for the width, and then you have to draw a straight line up. Don't draw a line joining this like this. Draw a straight line up for the height. Once you decide on your height, again draw a line, and then that will be the perpendicular height, and then quickly going for your, just do the same thing on the other side and close it up, and you have one face of the building. And for depth, so for width and height, you just are using these lines where you'll join them using one point, but basically you're doing horizontal and vertical. For depth, that is where you're using these guidelines, right? So for depth, you're drawing along the guidelines. Again, when I go for height, I'm making sure it is a straight line. Don't go cross like this. This is what most of you are doing. So just go straight up. Then again, close it there, and same thing. You see, that is how you draw one point perspective. So same thing with the road. I'm gonna quickly go over everything. Same thing with the door. Height, go straight up, and depth, you're using the guidelines. We went, okay, so the trees, this was the other thing I was saying, right? So trees also, because it's height, I'm going straight up. Always go straight up with your trees. Don't go like this. This is not how it works. Whenever it is height, go straight up. Please remember that. Note down that as well. So go straight up. So we had another building. We're quickly going to go over that. And then we're going to clean up everything. I think we even added some color later on. Yeah, there you go. To be honest, I'm less keen on the color and more interested on how you draw the perspective. So try to keep your perspective very clean and neat. And again, you don't exactly have to color, but I give props for coloring as well. But for now, let's focus on the perspective and some more detailing. Detailing always makes your drawing much, much better. All right. Now, this is what we saw with the room. So we basically drew a proper clean box, and this is what some of you were missing. The proper clean box, which is straight lines horizontally and vertically, which will define the wall of the room. So basically we talked about one point perspective, looking straight ahead at a wall of the room or looking straight down the road. So that is what is one point perspective. All right. And then we drew windows, we drew some depth, and obviously we drew some lines so that we can get the depth in the window. And see furniture. So when I'm drawing the face of the furniture, these are just straight lines, horizontal and vertical. And then I'm using these guidelines for the depth. Again, this is also vertical because it is the width, it is always straight and horizontal, straight with the horizon line. And whenever it is height, I'm going to make sure it's down. And always see how it is touching at the corner. That kind of shows where the height of the cupboard is. And then we clean that up. We added some furniture. Perfect. So there you have it. That's the room. So we discussed about all that. Okay. So now let's quickly go into 2-point perspective. And I want you all to concentrate here. All right. That was 1-point perspective. Let's get into 2-point perspective. Obviously, 1-point perspective had 1 point. As you can imagine, 2-point perspective will have 2 points. So there will obviously be a horizon anywhere for any drawing. Always good to draw, not just perspective. For any drawing, always good to have a horizon. You will have a straight parallel horizon. Horizon is where the sky meets the earth. So if you're looking down, your horizon will be up. If you're looking up, your horizon will be down, because there will be more sky if you're looking up and less ground. If you're looking down, the sky, there'll be more ground and less sky. So that is a good thing to, a good way to decide where you're looking at and decide on your horizon line. So I usually try to keep it somewhere in the center for my perspective, so that I'll have a lot of space or for my drawings. All right, so I have my horizon line, but instead of one, I have 2 vanishing points, and that is where 2-point perspective comes. Now, in 1-point perspective, we were looking straight ahead at a wall, and we were looking at 1 point, right? Where everything was vanishing into 1 point. But now, with 2-point perspective, obviously there'll be 2 vanishing points. And usually this happens when you're looking at a corner. So whenever you're looking straight at a corner, that is when 2-point perspective happens usually. So basically, what you have to do is just draw again lines from this each vanishing point. So always remember, vanishing points will give you guidelines. So draw your guidelines from your vanishing point. And so from this point, you can see I've drawn straight lines. And then from this point also, I've just drawn random lines going either way. Now, a very, very good habit and something you should keep in mind is try to always keep the vanishing points, at least for this assignment, try to keep them equidistant. So both, if this is the center, try to keep the distance between this point and this point, this point and this point same for now. Later we'll go into a little more complicated where one vanishing point is a little different. We'll get into all that. But for now, keep it equidistant. This way, we will get clean. And also, oh, this is very important. When you're drawing these guidelines as well, try to see if possible to keep them almost like this angle should be equal to this angle. That will keep your drawing very, very clean and very neat. So try to make sure these lines are almost having equal angles, right? So try and do that. Okay, so let's get started. Now, let us draw a cityscape. So first we'll start with drawing a house and we'll go on from there. So now we have 2 vanishing points, and vanishing point is where we are looking at a corner instead of a wall. We are looking at a corner and the walls are going ahead. So in 1-point perspective, we were looking at a wall and the corners were on the side, but here we are looking at a corner. So let's quickly draw this. Now I obviously draw a straight line joining this point to this point. And first let's look at this vanishing point. So first you draw a straight line joining this dot to this dot, and always, because this is the height of the building, it will always be straight. Now this is going to be the depth because it's going deeper. So for depth, you obviously have to use the guidelines. So use your guidelines and draw the depth. You have the height and you have the depth using the guidelines, and however deep you want to go, you can go, and then drop in wherever you feel, okay, this is the depth I want for my building. Draw a straight vertical line down. So this is one face. Now let's draw the same thing on the other side. We have the other face using this vanishing point. So we have still the straight line, and then we are using this guides to draw the depth and here. And this is a proper corner. So from here, we can see that this is a corner of a building and it's going in that way and that way. So it's vanishing into 2 points. All right, so let's do a little more. Let's draw in some roads. So using these guidelines, I'm just going to draw in some roads. I'm going to just do one road over here, and it's turning into this road. All right, so we have a road coming in this way and going that way. So it's like almost a right angle turn with the road. Great. Now I'm going to draw quickly a door. Okay. So for door, again, height, it is a straight line up. I'm not going to do line like this. Straight vertical line up. Depth, I'm going to use the guideline. Decide on the depth. I'm happy with this depth. And then drop again a straight line down. And that is my door. All right, great. So now let's draw. So this is typically how you draw a building in a two-point perspective. Same thing with windows and all as well. But we're going to do a cityscape today. So let's draw in another building. So let us say there is another building over here. So obviously, what we'll do is we'll give enough gap between this building and this building. We're going to draw the width. Here, let's say it starts here. We'll decide on the height. I want this building to be taller. So I'm going to decide on a height. Again, depth, this will guide me. So once I decide on the depth here, I can drop a straight line up, and that will give me the exact height of the second building. Now, how to decide on the depth? Obviously, this side, it is vanishing over here. Now, the other side, you use this vanishing point 1, to guide you with the depth. So you draw two lines joining these two corners. You can draw using these two corners also, but you won't be able to see that, right? Because you have a wall here. So let's draw from these two points or these two edges, you'll draw lines. Great. Now, how to actually, so I just cleaned it up so that we can see clearly. Now we know this front building, this is the depth. If you want the next building also to have the same depth, and this is the beauty of two-point perspective. From one point perspective also can be a little wonky, but two-point perspective makes it so much more cleaner because it's more realistic. So if you want this building to have the same depth as this building, what you do is, so this side depth, you just draw a vanishing line from this point to this point. And I want you to carefully look at this. So once you draw this, you know this depth, it's intersecting for this depth over here. And that's it. That's your guide. So from that point where it intersects, draw a straight line up and join those two dots, and you have this building which is the same depth as that, but which is a little further away. And that's the beauty of it. All right. So let us clean that up. Perfect. So I just made sure I removed those lines which are intersecting, and I just erased those lines, and I have it just over here. All right. So now we have two buildings, one vanishing it towards this side of the building, right? Towards this vanishing point. Now we're going to do the same thing. I'm just clearing up, getting out more guides. And now we're going to draw another building on this side. And this building, we're going to keep not approximately, we're going to keep this building the same height as this building. So I'm going to follow the same guides. Line goes vertically up, goes deep, straight down, again has the depth. Perfect. So once I have my depth, this is the face. Now for this side of the face, obviously I use this vanishing point. So for this side of the face, I use this vanishing point. This other side, I'm going to use this vanishing point too. So again, I draw guidelines towards this vanishing point. So before you saw for this side of the face, I use this vanishing point. I know this is a little confusing, but bear with me. You'll get it. Once you draw, you'll get a practice. So once you have the vanishing points, because this building is smaller, I just have to join this over here and join this over here. So I made sure I gave enough gap over here as well. And that's it. You have the other building on the other side. So just make sure you draw guidelines from your vanishing point. Use for height, straight vertical lines. For depth, for depth, use the guidelines. And this is how you can get. So basically, you will have a midline. This side of the line, you will have vanishing point as this. This side of the midline, you will have the vanishing point as this. So always keep that in mind. Whenever you're drawing the other side of the line, make sure you're using this as the guideline. You're drawing this side, use this as the guideline. That comes very much in handy. Same thing over here. Here, this is the center of the building. This is the line. For this side of the line, you're using this vanishing point. This side of the line, you're using this vanishing point. Same thing here. This is your center line. This is the corner. For this side of the corner, you're using this vanishing point. This side of the corner, you're using this vanishing point. All right. So now we're going to kind of close this with some buildings. So now we are getting the buildings to the other side. Now here, I'm not looking at a corner, but I'm going to look at the wall of a building. So when I have the wall of a building on this side, obviously this becomes a 1-point perspective. So if I draw guides, they'll go this way from this wall. But again, because it is going inside the wall, I don't need these guidelines. So it'll just be that. That will be the building over here. Same thing I'm going to do on the other side. On the other side, I'm just going to put my guide mark so that I'll know how much distance this building will be from the road. And then I'm going to draw a wall. Once I draw a wall, I'm not looking at a corner anymore. I'm looking at a wall. So once I look at a wall, it again becomes a 1-point perspective. So this will be my 1-point perspective. So I'm going to draw guidelines. And then guidelines from both down and above. And then I'm going to use decide on the depth. Again, when it comes to the width, this is the width of the building. So that is going to be a straight line. Perfect. Now I'm going to just quickly draw that by cleaning it up. All right. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to close this up. And the reason I'm closing this up is to kind of draw the next building. So I have this building which is closed up. Obviously, I won't see all this because this is the wall and this is kind of the roof. All right, so I just cleared the road here, and then I'm doing another building on the back, but I'm making this building a little taller. That's why, though it is further away, it is higher. So I'm going to do that. And then when I join the corners here, I won't be able to see because they're inside the wall. When I joined the corners over here, what happened was I can see that because it's not inside the wall. So that is something you have to remember. All right. So I clean everything up. And there you have it. I clean all the lines, which I won't be able to see because they're inside the wall. And that's it. You have a very clean 2-point perspective of a cityscape. So if we color it quickly, you can see the roads, you can see the buildings, you can see. So you basically have a 2-point perspective going on over here and kind of a 1-point perspective going on here. And it is 1 point because you're looking at a wall and not at a corner. So I want you all to kind of remember this. I'm also going to post the video of this so that it'll be a guide. All right. Now, moving on to a different example of a 2-point perspective. So let's have a look at, instead of a cityscape, we are going to look at a single house for a 2-point perspective. Here you have it. This is a house in a 2-point perspective. We're using 2 vanishing points here. So basically, I have let me see if I have everything here. Okay, I think I don't have. Okay, let me go back quickly. So basically, I use these points to draw different guidelines. You can see the beauty of this is it has depths. You can clearly tell this bit is projecting out. There is some bit over here which is going inside because you can see the depth. All this you'll get to know if you draw guidelines. So let us say you draw a guideline here. You want this part of the building a little inside. You draw another guideline here. Basically, I draw everything exactly like this cityscape using guidelines. So this is my center. This side is vanishing into this. This side is vanishing into this. Same thing with the windows and doors as well. Use your guidelines and vanishing points to draw. Now, one thing I wanted to show you how to draw are the staircases because these are very, very fun to draw. And I want you to concentrate on staircases because that's what I'm going to show here. So I put my door a little high so that I can have a staircase here. So this is how you go ahead with drawing the staircase. Now you know that this is where your building meets the ground and this is where your door is. So there is obviously some height and you don't want to immediately fall out. So you need staircases. So a good thing to do is first draw a straight line down to decide what will be the height of your staircase. Once you do that, draw a guideline where the door is and then draw a guideline where it is intersecting the ground, where it is intersecting the door, where it is intersecting the ground. Once you do that, decide on the width of at least one of your step. So I decide, because it is, sorry, not width, the depth, right? So because it is depth, it is going along the guideline. So I draw that. And then same thing at the bottom. I'm going to say, oh, my first step is going to be this high, but I think the overall steps have to be this wide. So I draw these lines using the guides. And then I draw a straight line down to decide on the height of each step, right? So I draw a straight line down. This is the height of this step. So once I draw this line, this will kind of give me a guide to the next step. So I draw a guideline at this point. And then I use this guideline to again give the depth of the step, then drop the height of the step, use the bottom to draw another guide. Same thing I'm going to follow. And this is how I get this face of the staircase. Now, once I get this side, let's see what we do next. The next thing we have to do, now we have different points. Now, these staircases will go this way. So because it is on this side of this corner, obviously, let us quickly draw guidelines from this vanishing point to every point. So I draw, so every point. So this point, this point, this point, this point, this point, and this point, I draw guidelines to this vanishing point. Once I do that, now I'm again going to draw guidelines from the points I have. So from this point, I'm going to draw a guideline. So I draw a guideline where this line, this guideline meets the door. I draw a line. Once I draw the line, I'm going to close this step, because this is where the step ends. That means this is where the step is going to end. Same thing, this is the depth. So it is following along the guideline. Again, straight down for the height. And once it goes straight down, that is going to give us this guideline, which is already existing, right? So that's kind of going to give where we are going to start drawing this step from. So at this point, I'm going to draw another guideline to this vanishing point, and then this is going to go straight along the guideline, and then straight down, again, another vanishing point at the bottom where I drew the height. And then that guide is going to give me the depth of that step straight down. And once I have this, I'm just going to join these lines. And there you have it. That is a simple way of drawing staircases very easily using 2-point perspective.